This MASH, first of all, I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if you heard any of the interviews I did earlier on this morning, the jury's out in my own mind, having sat and listened to copious amounts of conversations about the murder of Daniel Pelker. I'm still not convinced that the issue was that agencies didn't talk to each other. Are you?
The issue is never one single simple thing in these cases. There are always a multiplicity of factors that come together that result in these sorts of tragedies. And people not talking to each other at the right time, in the right way, is nearly always one of the factors. And one of the ways you can help to make that better is very simple and basic, I think. Getting all the people together in one place, in one room. That obviously makes it easier for them to talk to each other. So it's as basic as that, I think.
Although, if we focus on one aspect, and to me a bigger aspect was each individual agency failing to take action despite growing amounts of evidence that there was an issue that needed investigated. If we focus on this multi-agency, which I have to say, if you read other safeguarding reports and other serious case reviews from around the country, they all fall back on this, it's a multi-agency communication problem. By focusing on that, surely we're kidding ourselves, Janet, aren't we? We're getting the focus all wrong.
No, I think you need there isn't one single focus in any of these cases.
But isn't that what the MASH is supposed to do, is have a single focus where people are talking to each other? That's your single focus.
Yeah, that's one focus within the process of getting it right. But ultimately, getting it right, the first point I want to make is that no one is ever going to get it all right all of the time so that no children ever die.
No.
That's not going to happen in spite of the best endeavours of all concerned.
But surely you must be as concerned as I am to hear that West Midlands Police, and we have no answer for why this happened, we have nobody accountable for the fact that it happened. West Midlands Police arrived at the Pelker's household around 27 times and still didn't manage to put the clues together. That's got to frighten you to death in your new role, hasn't it?
If I were easily frightened to death, I wouldn't have taken this on. That's my first point.
Well, I don't do your job, and it frightens me to death that we're just waiting for another Daniel Pelker to happen.
Well, I hope that is not the case, and I think that it is important when an area has had one of these very bad cases to make quite sure that people don't stay where they were 18 months ago or 2 years ago when that bad case happened. But that, whilst clearing up and putting right everything that went wrong, they are also focusing on the future and on making things better, making systems work better, making staff, creating the conditions for staff to work more effectively and getting it right in the future. It's far too easy in these circumstances for people to get stuck in the past tragedy and not able to move on. Now,
but isn't that acceptable though? Because I mean, like I say,
past history,
Janet,
because I wasn't in Coventry.
I know, but 27 times the police turned up. That, as a child protection person, has to worry you. The fact that he presented many times, and you can read the notes as well as we can, you know, he presented many times at a hospital, many times at a GP. His teachers filled in time after time reports in the concerns book, and nobody acted on any of the information. It was nothing to do with talking to each other. It was about one of the agencies actually doing something themselves.
Shane, my job is to do my level best to ensure that that isn't able to happen now.
Right, and my point to you is that the MASH doesn't address that, Janet.
So I'm not in a position to comment and pass judgment. It was an appalling tragedy, as all these deaths are, and you will know, that there have been a succession of cases over the years where we can point to all the things that went wrong with hindsight. But my role is to try and ensure that this cannot happen again in Coventry.
But you have to look at hindsight then, don't you? How can you can't say, how do we stop this happening again, unless you examine what went wrong.
You're absolutely right, and that has been done. That has been done fairly exhaustively. And the point now, as far as I'm concerned, coming in with a clean slate...
Okay, sorry then.
As an outsider...
Yeah.
has had no engagement with Coventry, is to look at what the situation is right now in Coventry, where the strengths are, how we're going to make things move forward,
right,
and to build on the commitment of people like Dean Young, who's been instrumental in getting this MASH set up, and the council, and all the other good and committed people who haven't run, who've stayed, because they want to make things better for the children of Coventry.
Okay,
My role is to do the level best I can to help to pull all that together into an overview and ensure that such a tragedy can never again happen in Coventry.
Tell me then, Janet, if we've done that, if we've been through the process of looking back and we now know where the mistakes were made, how did we end up with the situation? Because I've not seen it in any report. Why or how West Midlands Police went to somebody's house 27 times and never figured out there was a problem. I've not seen any line in any report which makes anybody accountable, which suggests how that it would happen, or suggests how we would stop that happening again. Can you answer any of those questions?
I very much doubt it. I'm not an expert on the operations of West Midlands Police, and I think they're questions you would have to address to them.
I'm sorry, hang on a second. You are the chair for Coventry Safeguarding Children Board.
Indeed.
And shouldn't you be asking the questions?
Those questions have been asked by the various reports and inquiries that have taken place at local and national level. I am confident that the responses that were received and the plans that were made to move forward on the basis of those investigations are sound, that those actions have either, if they were of the sort that could be completed and finished, that's happened. If they're of the sort that have to be with us still and constantly worked on, that has happened. So, for instance...
You're just assuming all of this?
No, I'm not assuming anything.
So answer that question then. How does West Midlands Police turn up 27 times and not figure out there's a problem? What in your view, what happened there?
Well, if I think back to other serious case reviews that I've known of or been involved with, or authorities I've been involved with, you could say that there were similar events. I could go all the way back to the little girl in Norfolk.
No, I don't want you to. I want you to talk about Daniel Pell. I want to talk to you about why West Midlands Police missed that. And if you don't want to talk about West Midlands Police, let's talk about why the teachers in Coventry put all those concerns in a concerns book and nobody did anything with it. Or let's talk about the hospitals that Daniel presented at and turned up with injuries and reasons for those injuries which didn't add up. Let's talk about the times he went to the GP. We can talk about any of those services, Janet, but what I'm saying is it sounds like you're just working on assumptions, and that is no way to move forward with child protection in this city.
I'm not working on assumptions.
Tell me how West Midlands Police missed 27 opportunities then.
Is to ensure that the procedures in each and every agency, A, are as foolproof as they can be, and B, are adhered to. So if you want to take the example of the police, and that's one of many agencies that the Safeguarding Board is in oversight of, if you like, I would say that we as a Safeguarding Board are in the process now, right now, of auditing the police's responses to domestic violence incidents, which are a key factor in the Daniel Pelker case, and thereby shining a very sharp light on how that works and whether the responses are what they should be. I have already spent a morning at one of the screening sessions that the police run with other professionals, where they look at every single incident of domestic violence that comes into them over the preceding 2 weeks, and joint decisions are taken about where children are involved, that is, about what forward action should be taken. So I'm aware of the procedures that have been put into place since the case you're talking about.
What procedures are, because I'm not aware of any procedures that have been put into place. What procedures are you talking about?
I'm talking about a pretty tight system of domestic violence surveillance and reporting that ensures that whenever incidents are reported to the police and acted on by the police, if children are present in the house in question, notifications will go to all the key agencies.
Didn't that happen before Daniel Pelker died?
I'm Shane. I have been in post in Coventry since the 1st of
You've been at Islington for 5 years, safeguarding children aboard there. What happened if the police went there and there were kids? Hasn't that, because we were led to believe what you're talking about to me is the police doing their job, Janet, and we were led to believe that the police were doing that already. So this revelation that if there were children involved now turning up at domestic incidents and then they're actually doing something now, what on earth were they doing previously?
Well, I'm afraid it's not always the case that, in my experience, that when the police turn up somewhere and there are children in the house, that there is any further detailed follow-through on that incident.